Hello, I'm Okja, and I'm here to tell you that we put no hashtags, captions, or anything. So if you see this is your sign to stop what you're doing. Listen and reflect on your carbon footprint, because my fellow animals and I will no longer fall victim to capitalism. We will be posting what you should know about animal suffering and how it and the climate crisis are interlinked through capitalism. So stay tuned and follow for more. Welcome to part 2, where we'll be introducing you to the linkage between animal suffering and the climate crisis through capitalism.
We will start by informing and providing examples of how just existing in a capitalistic society causes and furthers animal suffering because of the selfishness and greediness that derives from it.
We will then discuss the effects the climate crisis has on animal suffering due to environment and physical changes. All of these are crucial to the health, habitat, and well-beings of animals.
Finally, animals classified as property have led them to be subjects of humans' greed, which has not only greatly impacted their own livelihood, but that of the environment.
Follow, like, and stay tuned for more information about this issue, and feel free to ask questions along the way.
Always one step forward and 3 steps back.
Welcome to part 1 of our discussion about capitalism and its linkage to climate crisis and animal suffering. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which individuals, industries, and companies can purchase property, capital, or goods and trade or sell them for profit. While capitalism may seem like a successful method to run an economy to some, it causes greed, which further leads to climate issues and eventually to the exploitation of animals due to humans gaining this unsaid sense of entitlement and superiority, also known as speciesism. This causes many people to become careless and disregard how their personal choices are affecting others and the bigger picture. Specific to animals, humans are trained to believe that animals lack minds and emotions. But there's a corporate, political, and economic malinterest behind this misinformation that is being given to the public. Some of these malinterests include continuing the food industry, pharmaceutical medications, and entertainment. For example, some animals are sexually exploited to cause reproduction for the sole purpose to slaughter and use them for personal benefits for later. Welcome to part 2 of how capitalism is the root cause for the climate crisis and animal suffering. Here you can see I have asked for a few people's opinions on how similar they believe rats are to humans. This is important because one thing we have talked about is how capitalism creates selfishness. We sell or trade items for profit. Similarly, we test and manipulate rats for human benefits. There is this act called the Animal Welfare Act, and it ensures proper treatment of animals in research and experimentation. However, rats are not protected under this act. While rats have cognitive and reproductive abilities, similar organs and physiology to humans, they should have some protection that prohibits manipulation and killing of rats while being able to test on them safely. Furthermore, they benefit the environment we live in. They prompt tree growth by spreading seeds. Holding these rats hostage and manipulating them fails the earth system while diminishing them and taking away from their value. Welcome to part 3, where we'll be discussing how fast fashion is influenced by capitalism and adds to climate crisis. Fast fashion is inexpensive clothing that is mass-produced and sold in retail markets to maximize profit. The U.S. alone throws away about 11 million tons of textile waste annually, most of which is non-biodegradable. This industry is the second most polluting industry. These clothes sit in landfill for over 100 years, releasing harmful gases into our air. Furthermore, this industry consumes over 70 billion cubic meters of water per year, which means that the amount of water being consumed is depriving millions of people who are lacking adequate quality water. For example, to produce one shirt, it takes about 2,700 liters of water, and that amount is enough for one person to drink for 900 days. The amount of water, air pollution, and land this industry uses causes a shortage for not only humans but animals as well. These toxins negatively affect biodiversity, leading to a loss of habitats. Additionally, fast fashion furthers animal suffering by farming and skinning billions of animals every year to produce and keep up with trendy styles.
Back. Today we will be discussing our Earth's climate, which is in crisis as we turn a blind eye towards mistreatment to our planet. Since the Industrial Revolution, people have overutilized fossil fuels, exerting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and changing the overall climate of our planet. Long-term effects of these greenhouse gases have caused a rise in temperatures, increase in heat waves and droughts, and a rise in sea levels. According to the United Nations in 2019, we only have 11 years to prevent irreversible damage to our Earth. However, this has evolved out of the average consumer's control, as the majority of the problem is caused and perpetuated by large companies. Stay tuned for part 2 to see which companies were linked to the 2019 Amazon forest fires. In January of 2019, the world watched as a devastating fire overtook the Amazon rainforest, burning 2.2 million acres of land, perishing an estimated 2.3 million animals, or 7% of the region's wildlife population. Since the fires have been connected to international meat and soy animal food companies. Food processing companies such as JBS and Cargill have slaughterhouses and soy facilities throughout the region. These facilities have a history of government investigations which have uncovered serious violations repeatedly associated with deforestation. These companies still hold distribution contracts with Costco, McDonald's, Walmart, Target, Albertsons, and more. Despite media scrutiny and a pledge at the 2014 Climate Summit to remove deforestation from their processes, they have yet to make good on April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon rig owned by oil company Transocean and leased by oil company British Petroleum was seen to the largest marine oil spill in history, also known as the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. Killing 11 workers and injuring 17 more, a large explosion caused by a surge of natural gas blasted through a concrete core, which was later investigated to discover similarities to an incident on a BP-owned rig in 2008. In the end, BP was liable and has since paid over $71 billion in fines and reparations. 205.8 million gallons of oil and 225,000 tons of methane drained into the Gulf of Mexico, in which only 25% was recovered. This event has left catastrophic effects on wildlife in the area, leaving an estimated 82,000 birds, 6,000 sea turtles, 25,000 marine mammals, and an unknown number of fish harmed or killed. In 2019, the U.S. Department of Interior rolled back safety regulations, leaving to wonder if another deepwater disaster is inevitable as we allow for corporations to exploit our resources.
Capitalism strives to gain the maximum profit at the lowest possible cost, which most often than not exploits both animals and the environment. This has occurred because of how humans view the things around them as being beneath them and for their use. Animals are often reduced from sentient beings to objects in order for humans to justify their cruelty and exploitation of these beings for personal gain. Since both animals and the environment are seen as property, they are used and then quickly disposed of and replaced. Their status as an object that is subject to a human's will is used as justification to continuously exploit them as a resource. This can be seen through the food industry in livestock and factory farming, as well as fishing companies, where profit is seen as the final margin at the expense of animal life and the well-being of the environment. Livestock and factory farming are one of the main contributors to animal suffering and the climate crisis. Due to capitalism, fast, cheap meat has made it possible for millions of people to access, yet it ignores the suffering that goes with it. In order to maximize profits, land animals are subject to growth hormones, drugs, genetic and chemical manipulation, and overcrowding. Some things that animals such as chickens, cows, and pigs experience are health problems, such as calcium deficiencies, bone fractures, castration, chipped teeth, and heart and lung problems. All of this has led to the contamination from feces running into nearby water sources, deforestation, and billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions yearly. This is all done for the sole purpose of maximizing profit. Overfishing occurs when there is a high demand for a product without regard to the animals being captured and their habitat. Large boats are being used which not only ruin the oceans that they are exploring, but the nets that they use are so large that they also destroy the coral reefs. This greatly impacts the ocean environment because coral reefs protect coastlines from storms and erosion, and they are sources of food and medicine. Yet the coral reef's destruction takes thousands of years to rebuild, which leaves many animals without a habitat. Overfishing also puts a huge strain on the rest of the food chain because the fish which are being caught are commonly caught during their adolescence, which leads to low levels of reproduction. This can lead to a species extinction. While overfishing may provide us with a fast and cheap alternative to a more sustainable option, these are only short-term gains that create long-term problems. Cuisine heavily relies on seafood, particularly tuna. Japan captures a majority of bluefin tuna and consumes about 90% of it. This has made it so that bluefin tuna are the most overfished and overexploited fish in the ocean, which has led them to be critically endangered. While completely cutting off seafood from one's diet may not be possible for everyone, being cautious of your eating habits will help. You can do this by downloading food sustainable apps such as Seafood Watch, which shows you which seafood to avoid and which are the best alternatives. Here we can see by searching up bluefin, it is categorized as red, which means to completely avoid from any location and source. You can then search up an alternative option such as albacore, which shows you which are the best choice, the best alternative, and which to avoid.
thank you so much for asking this question. I would like to mention that a lot of these clothes, or a lot of the eco-friendly clothes, are going to be on the pricier side. If you would not like to pay so much money, one of the ways you can attain eco-friendly clothes is by going to thrift stores. A lot of clothes in thrift stores, or actually all clothes and materials in thrift stores, are recycled. They're once loved. But if you would like to purchase new clothes, know that they are going to be a little bit more expensive. This is very similar to how fast food is made more available and at cheaper rates in different communities as compared to vegetables in healthier places. But let's get into the answer to your question. Okay, so here is a website that I found that lists about 10 eco-friendly brands that you can shop from. This will definitely help support the environment and stop the support of fast fashion. They are a little bit expensive, like I mentioned, but it gives you a price range, the brands, the ethic companies it's supported by. So check it out. Thank you. Hi, thank you for asking this question and being curious and wanting to learn more about the benefits of rats, or the benefits of testing on rats, and how they have contributed to us. So just to start, rats are tested on because of their similarity rates to humans. Well, their high similarity rates to humans. So to answer your question, rats have actually contributed a lot to cardiovascular medications, diabetes, wound healing. We test on them for drug efficacy and safety. And then because of their intelligence and how easy they are to train, we also test them in psychological settings to help us understand human behavior. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you for asking the question again. Hi, thank you for commenting this, because I definitely do agree with you that capitalism and big businesses play a huge role into the current environmental issues we are facing. They are selfish in terms of always wanting to maximize their wealth without questioning or caring about how it affects the environment as a whole. The amount of waste we put out, the animals we force to suffer due to fashion, entertainment and experimentation, the pollution we cause, the deforestation that leads to lack of biodiversity, it all plays a crucial role into our environment issues. But one thing we can do to help push our environment into a healthier area is to control our carbon footprint and try to reduce your carbon footprint. So carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions that's released by an individual through their daily lives and activities.
Thank you for joining us on the journey of learning about capitalism's effect on both animal suffering and the climate crisis. As we saw, capitalism creates a hierarchy where humans view themselves at the top since they are able to profit off of animal suffering and environmental damage. We, mainly big companies, are causing irreversible damage to the environment and to different species. In order to continue and succeed in gaining profit, we are sacrificing animal life and ruining our water sources and land. The food industry is one of the biggest perpetuators of this, as seen through livestock and in fishing, because they go beyond their limits, which then puts a huge strain on everything around them.